All right. Welcome, everybody. Another episode of Legend Sports and Amplify. And we are talking baseball history and Negro League history, minor leagues, collecting, card art, artists, and uh, everything else in between. And I'm really happy tonight. We've got week 8 of the Josh Gibson MVP card art roundtable tonight, and it is really a lot of fun to have a full house tonight. We've got Anika Orrock, Slayton Evans, Josh Trout, Ryan Collins. Welcome, everybody.
Howdy.
Hi, thank you.
All right. So I was telling everybody before, I love origin stories, so I think we'll just go around the room. We'll let everybody introduce themselves and tell us how you got into what you're doing and how you got involved with this project. Then we're going to bring up everybody's Instagram pages, and we'll take a look at what you've produced so far for the campaign and your other work, and then we'll take a look at the campaign and where it's at. So I guess we go right to left. We'll start with you, Anika. How are you?
Hi, I'm good, thanks.
All right.
This is really cool. It's exciting to be on something with other artists as well.
Yeah, right.
I feel like it's just me always talking about art into the void. It's
Right.
nice to see other people here. That's the cool part about this whole thing, actually, is I've met so many other artists through this. It's great. Um, let's see, origin story. I won't go too far back, but I grew up loving the San Francisco Giants. I guess through my grandparents, my great grandparents, I spent summers and weekends with them, and they were Giants fans. The game was always on, and I learned to love the sound of baseball before I actually even understood the game. So it was a natural thing for me to get into. I've drawn as long as I can remember. I've made art as long as I can remember, and really only, I guess, maybe 6 or 7 years ago, they just kind of unintentionally came together into one thing. It never occurred to me to create baseball art. I was doing other work, and I just started creating. I started working on a project that involved me needing to research baseball. So it was a great excuse to just go to games and draw and listen to games and draw as part of the project I was working on. But then it just sort of took on a life of its own. And one thing led to another, and I've had some great opportunities to draw at different baseball games from broadcast level, from seats and everything, and started exploring stories of women in baseball. And that led to my book about the All-American Girls Professional Baseball League. And then that led me to this. I just, this past year, really wanted to do something more with what I do. I enjoy what I do so much that it got to the point where I just felt like I really, really needed to find something I could do with what I have that was bigger than myself. And this is part of that. So it's very exciting.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. How about you, Ryan? You're still drying off from your jog, huh?
Yeah, sorry. I thought
He's
it'd be a good
dedicated.
idea to go running an hour ago.
Yeah, he came on here right
So
after his workout.
try not to be too distracting about it. No, my my name's Ryan, and the moniker I have is 40-year-old versions of our 10-year-old selves, which is trying to just simply capture trying to be a kid again. I've already turned 40. I think that's obvious, but I don't always want to be 40. I want to be 10 years old, 9 years old, whatever. And so from an art perspective, like many people in the kind of collective group, kind of started last March, end of the winter or spring, where Tops is launching Project 2020, and all of a sudden people at home have time to do.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of coincided with, I thought it'd be fun to start collecting baseball cards again. My son was becoming of that age. And then all of a sudden the world came to a standstill. And as Project 2020 went on, the light bulbs really went off my head. I'm not a professional artist. It's not my day job, but it's something I've always appreciated and loved. And seeing the artists come out with all their different interpretations, and I was just completely infatuated with it. I love trying to think, what story could I tell, or what would I do? And that by no means is saying, well, I could do it better. Like, absolutely not. But still, what story would I tell? So as that evolved and seeing different people in the space make their own things, the light bulb kind of went off as like, well, could I make something of my own? Last fall, I decided to go for the experiment of doing social media with it, to try to prove out, can this be fun? Can it be fun and clean and not a screaming match between people? And I've learned that it was. I've been able to meet a lot of great people. And towards Christmas time was iPad time for me. And then the brain hasn't stopped working, hasn't stopped having fun. It hasn't stopped admiring other people's work, seeing what other people are doing. I'm more than happy, and I'd love to take inspiration from other people, and just different perspectives and stories that they tell. So then as the winter as 2021 started, finally made some of my own things. I've officially sold artwork to people I don't know, which is an accomplishment for somebody who is total amateur. 12 months ago, wasn't even fooling around with art outside of sitting with the kids and doing stuff. So I represent, well, not exclusively represent, but I come from the amateur side, and I like that it's a collective group that has professionals, they're professionals for a reason, but there's also amateurs involved to participate and make it a broad range of where people are coming from. So sorry if I wasn't short, probably missed things, but hopefully that's the intro.
Awesome. What you just said, I mean, it summed up a lot of the things that I've been saying for a couple of weeks now, and a lot of the shows I've been doing. Making lemonade out of lemons, right? With the pandemic, a lot of people have said it's given them some time to kind of rethink some things and maybe have a little more time than they normally had. I know for myself, I was spending, 2 to 3 hours a day stuck in traffic, driving back and forth to my office. And I tell you what, I don't miss that whatsoever. And so that extra 3 hours a day has given me some time. Then working from home and all those things that went along with it. But then the fun aspect you're talking about, as I started doing these, and originally I started doing these to try to highlight and shine a little bit more light on the Negro League Museum, the writers and authors, historians, researchers that have been involved in that, many of them for their entire lives. But then as I've been doing these, I realized, boy, there's a lot of people out there doing a lot of cool things, whether it's art and collecting and everything else. And so all this kind of tied together for me with the Josh Gibson MVP campaign. I had Sean Gibson on back in April, right around, it was just after Jackie Robinson Day, and we talked about it. And the fact that this is going on is just fantastic. It really, really is. How about you, Josh?
Well, my name is Josh Trout, no relation to Mike, unfortunately. I would love that, but I got started. I mean, I was doing art from age of 3, my mom said. Really kind of had a drive for it. I'd sit there and do the Bob Ross follow along, and I did. I would often pull out magazines or baseball cards and draw sports artists or sports figures, and really I didn't know art would be kind of my line of work, but as I grew older, I started noticing a talent growing more and more in junior high, high school. It wasn't until college. I wanted to be an architect, and decided to go to college for art and design. And that's when I really kind of realized, okay, I really have something here that I want to pursue. I obviously enjoyed it. It was a passion. And then I got out of college and I didn't do art for 15 years. So I didn't really follow that path. And life just got in the way. And in 2015, I knew that was a passion that I wanted to reconnect with, and I didn't know really how. So I wound up, a buddy of mine sent me, he was at the All-Star game, baseball All-Star game, and there's an artist there that was airbrushing on baseballs and selling them. And something clicked, and I said, that's it. That's my kind of way of getting back in and having a purpose. And I started painting on baseballs. And then first one I did was David Ortiz, and some people asked, are you selling these? And so I thought, well, I guess. And that really started my path to where I am now. In 2018, I joined Instagram and I found sketch cards, which sketch cards really originated in like with comic books, and I knew Topps was also doing some because I started connecting and finding all these artists that I had no idea that were out there doing these sketch cards. And I was already working kind of on a small platform of a baseball. I had done a football too, a couple footballs. I painted on a baseball bat. So I really found this kind of cool thing that I didn't see a whole lot of people doing. I found some baseball artists, but there weren't a whole lot. So I really thought, like, this is neat. I want to kind of follow that. And then the sketch cards came on. And so I did a couple of those, posted them online, and they kind of blew up. And then I got contacted to do a space set by Viceroy Card Company. And then like 2 weeks later, Topps contacted me to work on their museum collection. And so obviously I collected as a kid, so obviously that was a no-brainer. I'm like, heck yeah. And that's kind of what has really brought me to here too. I've been doing the Topps thing for 3 years now. Museum collection, I believe, is supposed to, for 2021, is supposed to come out Friday, but it might have got pushed back again until next week. I'm not exactly sure. And man, I love connecting my youth collecting cards. I still have all of my baseball cards when I was a kid, but I don't collect anymore. But getting back into the sketch card side of things, doing the stuff with Topps. I mean, it's kind of come full circle. So, man, I love it. Having that connection with Topps is kind of a nice little resume thing on the side to have. And, I'm just enjoying the ride.
Awesome. And it's something that they're a little bit before my time, but you everybody here knows, the original baseball cards. I mean, they were art. They were pieces of art themselves.
Oh, yeah.
They were all hand drawn. They were not photographs. And when you got into probably, I guess it was the 70s maybe when they started to change, and they were works of art in themselves. I mean, there were artists that were drawing those cards. I mean, that iconic, is it like the 52, top set, I think it was, that, I mean, that was an artist who hand drew every card. I mean, it's just, and then, so the work that everybody's doing here, I get it. I appreciate it. I think it's awesome that it brings back, in everybody's style, but the nostalgia to the way the game kind of used to be, and it really makes it a lot of fun. So how about you, Slayton? How about your card just went out today, right?
Yeah, just this afternoon.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it's interesting hearing Josh's origin story because to a degree we share similar elements. I've been drawing since I was a child, as early as I can remember. Getting into junior high and high school and whatnot, I was really into sports, even though I'm not good at playing anything. But yeah, same thing. I'd get magazines and baseball cards and whatnot that have pictures of Magic Johnson or Dwight Gooden or Joe Montana, or whoever the case is, and I would just sit there and I would draw those, and that's just what I did when I was in high school. I did everything except art when I was in high school, and I hated it all. So when I got to college, I became an art major. And it helped that one of my professors was this massive baseball guy. And he used to really get into drawing baseball, boxing, pictures, and rodeo. It's kind of a bizarre combination right there, but he was a weird guy. If you knew him, you'd understand. And in fact, one of our projects was to make a baseball card. You could do it any way you wanted. Pick any athlete you wanted. So it's almost kind of crazy that now 25 years later, that's what this is all about, Remember doing that piece, and then he had a show based on this card art that I guess nobody knew anything about back then. And I was able to finagle getting that piece into the show, and it premiered at the Baseball Hall of Fame about almost 30 years ago. And so that was really cool to go to the Hall of Fame and see all these crazy pieces of work done by all of these artists across the country that he, of course, knew, and they were all friends of his. And then there's mine,
Awesome.
One of his students. So that was kind of cool. Got out of college, and I got out of doing art and got a real job, and kind of dabbled every now and then in making art, on occasion, but wasn't very serious about it. And then, a couple of years ago, one of my college buddies started putting pressure on me. He was like, "Look, you got to get back into this." And so I started doing some more art, and none of it was sports related. Got on Instagram about a year or so ago, and stumbled across this guy's page called Card Art Syndicate, and he was asking for artists who would be interested in making card art based on the Topps 1986 series format. And I'm reading that thinking, well, I did that when I was in college. I can do that. And asked if I could be in. He said yes. Cranked out a piece. It was well received. Asked if I could do some more. He said, do as many as you want. I said, all right, fine. So I've done a couple of more, and I have a fourth one that's in the hopper right now. And then somehow stumbled across the Josh Gibson Foundation campaign. Asked if I could be in. They said yes, and I'm really appreciative that I was allowed to do that. It's a fantastic cause in the first place, and all the work that's been produced over the last 7-8 weeks or so has been just magnificent. Spending every day scrolling through, looking at something else that's unique that this person did. That's, even though every single piece has to do with Josh Gibson, none of them look like each other at all.
No,
and it's just exciting.
It's impressive. That's one thing. You mentioned the number of people. I think this started with 30, 40, and now you got into the 50s, and then you got switched around your day of release, because now it's up over 70, I believe, that are all involved in this. I mean, it's amazing. And like you said, like you've all pointed out, everybody's work is unique, and it's done in different mediums, and it's done, there's pencil, there's marker, there's cutting up cards, there's leather cards. I mean, it is amazing to see one theme done so many different ways. I mean, it's so much fun. And like you said, following it along every day has been, you wait for the next one. I mean, it's been great that there's been 3 and 4 a day now, because there's so many people that have been doing it. It's been really, really cool. And the reason why, is really, the MVP award, as we know, was named for Kennesaw Mountain Landis in the past, and it was taken off over a year ago now, or right around a year ago. And so, the people that are being considered, whether it be Branch Rickey or Frank Robinson or Josh Gibson, all would be worthy candidates if any of them were on there. However, with the fact that it's Josh Gibson and what he represents, not just the fact that his ability as a baseball player, but representing well over 3,000 players who played behind a color barrier, not of their own making, what that represents, to be able to shine some more light on that and give some recognition, I think is really, what this is all about. And it's important, and it's very, very, very cool to see, and many people that have been involved in this. The other thing too, I want to tell you guys, I post these out on several other forums. Some have to do with gaming, some are simulation gamings, there's some that are research. And the number of people that had no idea that there are artists doing individual, cards, most don't. Everybody thinks of cards as being Topps or Panini or the bigger companies, and most people are not aware. So I'm hoping that this gets you guys in front of everybody to see that there's a lot of great work out there. And wouldn't it be fun to have a one of a limited edition, as opposed to, some of these others. And they're great, don't get me wrong. The card companies are great. Topps is in my backyard. I grew up in Northeast PA, and Avoca, I was a neighbor to Avoca. What I used to do, Josh, when I was a kid, we used to go, they'd have the runs that were that were jacked up, that something was offset or something wasn't right, and they used to kind of shred them a little bit and throw them into this landfill. And me and a couple of other friends of ours, we would go to the landfill right when the sun was going down, and the truck would leave, and we would root through there and to find what cards we could salvage, because it literally was the Topps dumpster that we were going through as little kids. So yeah, I get it. It's but anyway, I think it's great that you guys are doing this particular project because of the meaning that's behind it. So all right, so somehow Ryan got shifted to the right on our right to left here, but I'm going to bring up your Instagram page, and we'll keep with the right to left so we can stay consistent. So I'm going to bring up your Instagram page, Ryan, and we'll all right, so there you go, 40-year-old versions on Instagram. That is you. So this is your card. Let's talk through this first, since this is why we're all here.
Yeah. I'll take a step back in the sense of I see a message goes out, and I'm like, I want to do that. And it's kind of thinking, okay, learn a little bit about it, and you're like, all right, scoping out. One of the things that I've always enjoyed is listening to music, and that was one of the first tricks of it for me, is like, how can I link music to it somehow? Second of all, I wanted to tell a unique story. Being not a professional, I was confident I can tell a story that's a little bit unique and entertaining to enough people to do okay. But I can't draw or do the full gamut like some others. So I really wanted to try to get as unique a story as possible. And I was concerned about the limited quantity of images that are out there for Josh Gibson. And do I take an image and just do so much of a digital overlay that it becomes unique, or it's just not something that I was comfortable. I do go back to what you said earlier, and clearly the works are coming out from this limited library of images, and the works are all unique. So I'm just kind of talking in my sense and what I was comfortable for. So I came across this Louis Armstrong album from Paris in 1934, and coincided with the Bronx 1934 and the legend of Yankee Stadium. The did he or did he not hit the baseball outside of the stadium?
Yep.
And so I'm thinking, I did a little bit more research, and ultimately felt comfortable that let's tell this story. And it's possible that a few other people can tell the story, but let's go with that story. And then from there, it's the medium. And I've primarily worked in digital and Photoshop, InDesign, and a little bit of Procreate. That's where I'm comfortable. But I was also thinking, like, well, why don't I expand my comfort zone? I mean, I've been at it for 6 months. Let's do something different. So I was like, we'll paint something. And I haven't painted anything in 20 years. But it ended up coming together, and I really fiddled with the layout, like how to position different elements of it. I struggled that the most. And then once I got comfortable enough, I used stencils for the lettering, the Josh Gibson, the Bronx, the Gibson MVP logo, and then on the right, which I used stencils for that, and I guess some imitation form of flattery in the spirit of Blake Jameson, that he uses stencils, and I think, well, I want to try that. I don't think anyone would confuse my work for a Blake Jameson work, so I feel that I'm not ripping him off. But it's an example of learning from somebody who's open and shares that there's different mediums and different approaches you can take to it. Plus, I'm not steady enough with a paintbrush to do that. And then if you could slide one to the right, and that'll get the full painting. And then one more after that is the original album cover.
Oh.
Just trying to match elements the best I could.
Gotcha. Cool.
The script under Josh Gibson talks about Pittsburgh Pittsburgh Crawfords, Philadelphia Stars, as told by Chicago American Giants infielder Jack Boise Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how the story was told with these two teams are playing. Jack Marshall is the individual who the quote or story is attributed to. And so that was an element. It's an element to introduce not just the Crawfords, but the Crawfords are playing other teams and other players are watching, and they're in the stadium for another reason because it was a showcase for the day. And so that kind of came together and kind of fidgeted with the lettering as best as my haven't painted in a long time could. And then did some Yankee Stadium drawing and had an idea for this trophy for a while. Needed to figure out how to introduce it. And so in the finished product where I imported the painting, cleaned a couple things up, but really not a lot. Ultimately wanted to keep the roughness of it, for lack of better terms. So I wanted to introduce the trophy, and I'm like, do I put it here? Then I have to move the Bronx lettering, and I'm sure many people would laugh if they could have watched me struggle for a week or so on how to move things around. And ultimately, I just decided to take the full digital version of my Josh Gibson baseball card MVP trophy proposal, to just overlay it in the bottom right as if it would be on an actual card. And so those are the elements, main elements, and there's Yankee Stadium.
I like the basher. The basher hanging off the card
right.
is cool. I like when people do that. I think it's very, very cool. It just leaves a little to the imagination, when something.
Yeah,
is
there's the picture of him
card.
holding that oversized bat. It says Josh the Basher.
Yeah.
There's no way that I could introduce that. And I wanted to. One could be confused, and I would not fault them if they are commenting that it says Basher or it says Bashed. Because the ball clearly was hit hard if it was falling out of the stadium. So it's intentionally ambiguous. But that's
right.
That's the story from the piece.
Cool. So let's take a look at what other ones that you've done here. Which one you want to talk about? Any of these down here? Look at Deion Sanders. Look at him.
Yeah, I just finished the Deion. It's physical. It's a physical product for sale.
Boba Chet.
Yeah. So what I've done the last 6 months is things I just do digitally that I don't print for sale. There's probably a few obvious reasons why I shouldn't, and I elect not to. But then the things I have made.
Oh wow!
Fine. There's videos out there where they're on that page. But I take an original card and I have artwork that overlays onto a one touch, and then I put it together.
Grandma's red scorebook. I love following those. They're posted on Twitter every once in a while. I love those.
I think Grandma's red scorebook. I've told him a couple of times that I think Cooperstown should knock
Absolutely,
on his door
it's really cool.
His grandmother's sitting at home for 22, 25 years, keeping score at home, listening to the radio. There's so much history in those 20-some years, and it's all these notebooks.
Unbelievable.
And I've loved following it, and I kind of had a light bulb to be like, why don't I – what World Series championship game tells a story that I can cut something together? So I did, and I reached out to him before I posted it, and he enjoyed it and said some really nice things that he shared with his family, and so I felt really good making him smile for the day, which
absolutely
well for him sharing what he shares with me and us.
I like this DiMaggio. This is good stuff, man. I saw you put out that one, the spinning wheel, the wheel of cards, and when I clicked it the first time, right, I figured you had to click the GIF, right? This is what card it stopped on. Was the Bird Bly 11 card when I clicked it. So I thought, oh my goodness gracious.
I'm not above being childish at times, clearly. But the Bly 11 came I was originally thinking back to being a kid, and you'd watch these old MLB videos on VHS, like these blooper reels.
Yeah. And
there would be the hot foot in the dugout. I do not encourage anybody of any age to bring back the hot foot.
No, right.
But thinking back to being little and seeing that, and so that sparked the idea. I was like, who's famous for the hot foot? And I came across Blylev, and came across his shirt. His birthday was around the corner, and so I said, why not? And so that was fun to do. And the drawing was really more experimenting. My style is kind of all over the place because it's kind of on purpose, because I'm just trying to get comfortable. It's been 20 years since I've routinely tried to do stuff that was very casual then. So I'm not ashamed to be experimenting, because it's all in the spirit of having fun, telling stories, and sharing with people, and seeing what people do, and picking up on that too.
You got a Connie Hawkins with his Wrens jersey on. Look at that. That's cool.
So it's a crazy story. And I was listening to a rock band. I fall asleep to music, headphones in my ears a lot. I was listening to this rock band Dispatch a lot that I've listened to for 20 some years. And I heard like MJ, the Doctor, NBA, and it was a new song. And I kind of listened to it again, and all of a sudden it opened up this whole story of Connie Hawkins as best as someone can tell it in 3.5 minutes. And I spent the rest of that night in the morning, like doing a deep dive on Connie Hawkins, and completely fell in love with the story that this man got caught up in scandal, that no connection to it. And it cost him his scholarship, and didn't reach the NBA until he was 27. But he still made the Hall of Fame, which shows you one part how skilled he was, and one part similar to how the Josh Gibson story goes, that part of he's missed out, and part of it he's just kind of excluded from for just reasons that can't totally fit.
Boy, there are so many stories, right? I mean, and that's what is really fun about a lot of the work I've seen you guys all doing, is you're finding the stories that interest you, the cards, the players, the pieces of history, and making them your own, and to get them out there and have people appreciate them. It's a lot of fun. Very, very cool. Good stuff, man.
Thank you.
All right. So let's go to Anika's page next. Are you guys still right to left that same way? I guess no. Now, Anika moved back to the right again, I see. I don't know what's going on there. But okay, we'll go ahead and bring up your Instagram page now. And I love it. Anika draws. There's got to be a story behind that, right?
Yeah, and the story precedes social media. And if I had really put some thought into it, I can't even tell you how many times that L gets in the way. But that's my cousin. When she was little, she always said, "Are you drawing? Can I watch you draw?" She would always say draw, and she used to love to watch me draw. I want to watch you drawing.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's where that came from.
Cool, good.
So even though it throws people off, I still love it because it makes me think of her.
I think it's awesome. Yeah, I knew there had to be a good story in that one for sure.
Yeah, drawing.
So your card is not out yet. So we can't.
It is not.
So we can't really talk about it yet, but it's going to go out on Friday. You're saying the 2nd. So we'll all be.
I mean, we could talk
it,
about
I'm
it
sure.
a little bit.
Yeah,
I guess I don't want to do any spoilers, but I think if you scroll. Oh, I was about to scroll down. That's not going to work. I'm not in control of this feed.
Where do you want me to go?
But yeah, I mean, if you come across it, great. But my idea was kind of similar to what Ryan is saying, and I loved scrolling through Ryan's Instagram, seeing a lot of the stories. I love the Shel Silverstein card you had. That was great. But I was doing some art, experimenting with, here we go. If you just go up this George Floyd card, or George Floyd art, experimenting with different ways of telling stories that, the trying to celebrate the beauty of certain lives that are so surrounded by or enveloped in tragedy. And the way I was kind of exploring that was doing, what I do with portraiture, but then also collaging like vintage wallpaper. And there's like some really great vintage floral wallpaper from like the 40s and the 50s. And it kind of got me thinking about, Josh Gibson is such an incredible story. And, I love, as much as I love baseball, there's kind of a lot going on. I mean, I won't dive too far into it, but a lot going on in baseball right now as far as who's telling the stories and who do they belong to.
Yes.
And there's kind of been the same kind of people telling baseball stories and sharing baseball history for a really long time. So, I really wanted to touch on something a little bit outside of baseball to sort of celebrate the person and the strength. So I didn't also, for as much as, for being a baseball fan, I am a terrible numbers person. So like you asked me somebody's batting average in one season or like, their OPS or their whatever. I'm like, a lot. Like I can't remember that stuff to save my life. I can't even remember my own family's birthdays. It's terrible. So, I mean, that's like how far on the artist brain spectrum I am. So it's all about stories and visual learning for me. And this exploration with people, like stories throughout history, through civil rights or people like George Floyd that are this painful, beautiful story that I wanted to celebrate the beautiful part of. And the flowers got me thinking about flowers. So without getting too much into the spoiler of it, I began to explore state flowers. And I was completely, once I read the description of like the Georgia state flower and the Pennsylvania state flower, and that the attributes to the flowers, it was like, whoa, there's so many things that are metaphorical and parallel between, the life of Josh Gibson, which was like completely, he was plagued with pain, both physical and emotional and mental his whole life, and yet persevered, and baseball became a sanctuary and where he could succeed. And baseball was the thing that probably gave him an escape from the pain or where he could work through it. So I used the flower aspect to sort of celebrate the beauty in that. But like I said, when I started researching these state flowers, like from Georgia, the state where he was born, and Pennsylvania, the state that he moved to and began playing baseball, the similarities and the metaphors were just like, okay, I have to do this. So I started exploring different ways that I could do that. So, it's not going to be a very typical looking baseball card, which is hard to stray from because like you're saying that the cards from, like the golden age of baseball cards, the designs and the colors. And I, especially for my style, like I love mid-century editorial cartoons and animation. And, some of the illustrations on the backside of those are just like my favorite, but it didn't really feel like something I wanted to play with in the cartoon sense. So, so this is what I'm doing. You'll see a little bit more about it there, but that's just kind of what I'm working with now, a little bit of a hint. Cool. And where the origin comes from.
So I don't know what Georgia's state flower is, but I grew up in Pennsylvania. It's still the mountain laurel. Is that right? Is that?
It is. Yeah, it is.
So okay, I'm gonna have to.
I learned a lot about the mountain laurel.
I'm gonna have to find out what. How that all ties into it. I'm sure that I'm sure it's gonna be great. Let's see what else. You got a whole. I mean, I love your drawings. I mean, they just bring back. When I see them, I don't know why, but it just brings back me memories of a kid growing up. Every single Sunday morning, I used to want to run to get the paper because it had. My mom used to call them the funny pages, and that was, it's just the artwork. I mean, I was just fascinated by it as a kid, and it just brings back all these memories of me growing up when I see the work that you do. I mean, I love it. I think it's great. And do you do what medium? Is it drawing, pencil, oil? What are you using?
Well, these days I'm using a lot more than usual. I've been experimenting a lot, just taking a little bit of a break. I when I'm working, I use my iPad, which is I can totally relate to the iPad
Mm-hmm.
revelations of like, and especially because there are so many great tools now, both, tangible tools and also software brushes. There are people whose like entire jobs are to make these texture brushes that are just like, it's so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
But there, I do that for work because it's easy turnaround. It's easy to edit. If you're doing editorial work and people need you to make a quick edit, it's awesome, and you can just email it right away. That's all great and convenient. But I really was missing something there, and you really get used to being able to hit like the back button on what you're working on, and
Right.
I think there's so much to be said for the imperfections and the limitations and experimenting. So I've really been trying to do more of that because, the book that was published last year, that's 162 illustrated pages. That was a lot of work on an iPad, just sitting working digitally. And
Wow.
then 2 days, the book was published, and then 2 days later, everything shut down from the pandemic hit. So I was really looking forward to like getting up out of my chair and away from my desk and doing a book tour and getting out there. And then
Didn't
that just didn't
happen.
happen. So
Oh
I just
wow.
worked through it. I just took as much work as I could. And so I just never really took a break. And
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm finally reaching that point where I'm like, oh, wow, I'm really burnt out. But, we're slowly easing into traveling and stuff. My boyfriend is a musician. He's going to be doing some touring here and there. So I'll get to do some of that. But I decided that I'm, giving myself a break and working with my hands more. And I just got some fresh paints and busted out the overalls again. So that's what I'm doing right now, and I'm really really enjoying it. So yeah, like on the top of the Instagram, there's like, I
Awesome.
mean, I even went so far as to like spray paint some cake sprinkles for a piece of art. It's like I'm getting weird, but it's really fun, and it feels good to get my hands dirty again. And it's really
Right.
important. It's important to do that kind of stuff and
Mm-hmm.
let yourself play. So this is while I am using, the frisket and the masking, and I'm trying to be careful not to get my handprints on this Josh Gibson work, it's still really fun to just, you know, get paint in places and work with a lamp overhead and not coming up at my face. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm enjoying the process a lot.
Awesome. And I would love to have you on here down the road whenever you had some time and talk through your book and talk through that other work you've done, because I think that would be a lot of fun too.
Sure, anytime.
All right.
Thanks.
Um, so what's your favorite? I mean, you've got everybody on here. You've got the Beatles and you've got superheroes and you've got
Yeah, I'm a little
Hillary
all over the
Clinton.
place.
Yeah, I saw Hillary Clinton back here somewhere. I thought I saw it. Yeah, you've got, I mean, quite the variety. What's this one here? Sally Hemings. Wow. Boy, you have got a variety of different things on here. Have you thought about, I mean, a lot of these remind me of, uh, you should do a line of greeting cards. These are awesome. These are awesome. I mean, these drawings are so perfect, and for something like that, I think they'd be fantastic.
Well, thanys. Yeah, if anyone's watching that owns a greeting card company that wants to pay me a lot of money to do that, sure.
I'm
Yeah, that's the
sure.
problem, is that there's just so many things I would love to do. I really, and again, like I love baseball, but I also love other things, and I'm really, really grateful to people who, I love how everyone on here like shared the moment where someone was like, "Are you selling that? Or you want to buy?" There's
Right?
like these little milestones as artists where you're like, "Holy, oh, I almost, holy crap!" Like someone actually wants to pay for this, or you
Awesome,
want,
right?
and there are those milestones too, where like, I'll never forget the first time someone hired me to do something in my own style. Like they wanted me
Hmm.
to do it how I do it and not
Yeah.
make it look like how somebody else does it. And these are all like really simple things, but they're a
Boy.
huge deal for an artist. And, so I'm really appreciative of the baseball community that they like what I do. And, and I love doing it. But yeah, there are so many other things I love doing as well. And it's really kind of hard. I would love to do a syndicated comic strip. I would love to do,
Right.
there are all kinds of things.
That's what it reminds me of. Every time I see your work, it just reminds me of a comic strip. I think they're great. Where's this one at?
That's in San Francisco.
So
that was recently. We got to in May.
Drawing, huh?
Got to go to a Giants game. Flew home finally after everything, and that's one of my favorite things to do. Also, is draw at baseball games because like my boyfriend will keep score. I'll draw, and it's great because people sit still for a long time.
Right. Yeah.
So I can draw what's going on in the field, but if not, I love drawing what's going on around me, and I just do it because it's part of how I take in the game, and it really adds to the experience for me. Mm-hmm. There's cool little vignettes happening around you and conversations, but it never occurred to me. Someone in the UK said like the nicest, most meaningful thing to me about that. He said, I live in the UK. I live so far away. I don't get to experience baseball games in person. Every baseball game I experience, I'm watching on TV or sometimes listening to on the radio. So your drawings help me get a sense of what it feels like to actually be sitting in the ballpark, cool. Which was like, wow, you just never think about things like that. And I love that everyone here does things how they want to do it and how it inspires them. But that's why it's such a big deal when somebody else asks you about it. It's like, oh, I was just in my little world doing the thing I love to do. I didn't realize anyone else would care. And it's great to connect that way.
Absolutely. And I get it. I can only imagine as an artist, that thought of, well, is anybody going to like this or not? And when they do, yeah, that's got to be a great feeling. Yeah, I get it. All right, so let's see. Now we got Trout paintings on Instagram, and we'll have Josh's card. So you've got some. Let's see, a variety of different ones on here. Boy, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, that is an absolutely beautiful card. So tell us a little bit about your thought process on this one.
This is, as I mentioned, I do stuff for Topps, and so for 2021, I did 40 cards for the Topps product. So those are all original pieces that will go into the product. People will have a chance to pull an original piece of artwork. Cool. There's about 10 to 20 artists roughly that do work for the museum product. And as part of my compensation, I get to have a handful that I can then commission out. Sometimes artists are asked to do those up front. I've kind of don't have time to do a lot of those up front. So I've kind of had an agreement, like when I get somebody who asks for something. So in this case, a guy approached me and said, can you do Josh Gibson? I said, well, let me see. I know FDOT was doing his Project 70 card. Mm-hmm. So I said, I'm pretty sure I would be allowed to, but as I'm finding out, sketch card artists aren't allowed to do certain things that the e-commerce side can do, which mm-hmm. is unfortunate, which I'll explain on this. So I came back, said, yeah, you can go ahead and do images for Josh. So that was my plan. And then I got an email for this whole campaign. And so I said, this will be perfect. 2 birds with 1 stone. Mm-hmm. I'll do this commission, and then I'll put it up for this little fun tournament. And so this was already, bought and sold. I have to ship it out here probably in the next week because I technically can't get it to the buyer until the set comes out, which is another thing with the Topps products. I can't post any of my work that I've done for the set until the product comes out. So I have 40 cards plus whatever commissions I've finished to this date ready to go to start posting. I'll post one a day when that set releases.
Awesome.
And So as part of this, I wanted to create kind of a presentation package, and that's kind of what you see here. This is the kind of the first unveiling. I've been messing around with branding for myself, and so I have a background in graphic design. I went to school for graphic design illustration, so I know enough to be dangerous, and but I also don't have the time. So I collaborated with another designer who I really kind of like his work. He was kind of going through the same thing of trying to figure out some sort of packaging for his stuff. So we worked together on it. It's been a good relationship. He did a couple mock-ups, and I kind of gave him some suggestions. I gave him the designs. I already had kind of a monogram for my own brand, and so he created something, and then I kind of took it a little further with the foam, creating this whole package look, and I think that's going to be something that I will provide as part of my commission Topps cards. So I just think it's a cool thing, and being with Josh Gibson, I thought this would be perfect to kind of unveil it with him, and I think it all works. Getting back to the legal parts for the card, I couldn't do any logos or names. Topps said that I wasn't allowed to do that, which was unfortunate. The card was supposed to have, I was going to do his signature on the card. And then I was also going to have the name Grays on his jersey. I was told I wasn't allowed to do that. I pushed back pretty hard saying F. has Grays on his jersey. So how does that work? How can he do it and I can't? And that's where they said, well, I don't know, e-commerce can just do whatever they want apparently. And I'm like, well, that card's getting printed. Mine's just a one of one. Still,
it's interesting you said that, because I had Greg Kreindler on here a couple of months back, and I asked him. I said, boy, all of the works that he does, I mean, they're just one-ofs. And I said, you've never done prints? And he said, yeah, the same kind of thing you're saying. He didn't want to get into that whole legal thing of having to do, you're getting into a whole jungle once you get into licensing and things like that. And yeah, I get it.
Yeah, it's weird. I mean, I'm a licensed to do stuff with Topps on their product, obviously. So it is kind of weird, but I went with it. You might be able to click on the one that's just showing his just the cards sitting. That one. So I think the other photo to that, is there another photo with that or no?
Nope. Let's try the first one. No.
I have a picture of the back of the card, and it has basically my signature and then Josh Gibson's signature. So that was kind of my workaround.
Yeah.
So I basically, on the back, we're supposed to write, the athlete's name. And so I looked at his Joshua Gibson's signature, and I signed it as that to kind of pay tribute to his signature. Because I talked to Sean on the phone, they really like seeing the full name signature. So that's kind of how I got around.
Well, here, there's a little video here, so maybe you show it here. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it'll be on the back of this.
Cool. It's beautiful.
And I'll have, right now I have 4 other commissions done.
There you go. Yeah.
Yep.
Cool. Awesome. Cool. So you have done. How long you been working? How have you been with Topps? Did you say?
2019 was my first year. So there's apparently I wasn't supposed to show little sneak peeks, so that Andrew McCutcheon is another one.
I see that. Yeah. I'm a Phillies fan, so I had to click on that, just to
Yeah,
see.
that one's really cool.
I love it.
And then like some of these others are just commission
Ooh,
stuff.
look at that Jackie. That is
So
nice.
yeah, I took part in the last summer's Negro League Baseball Museum art uh, campaign, I guess you'd call it, and I didn't know if I'd be able to get anything done for it. And I had a Topps card, a blank, ready to go, and I thought this would be perfect. I'll do a Jackie, and the two poses, all the ones that I actually do for the Topps product, they're all one poses. But for commissions and stuff, I do these two poses if people want them. They're a little bit more money, and the people love them. And this was put up for auction, sold. I also did a painted baseball of Jackie, and
Wow.
then I started a city map series that I call it, where I do original artwork over top of a printed kind of a modern city map. So you can see the Mickey Mantle is basically that look.
Oh, this one here, yeah. Wow. I meant to ask everybody this because as we've been having these, um, I've been asking, what size are you drawing? I noticed up in here you're working on something that's literally about a baseball card size.
Yeah, so that's a commission. I call that my gallery size, because I also do Topps Gallery, which is this year I did an insert set for Topps Gallery. The previous 2 years I did some base cards for it, and so it's 4.25 by 6 roughly,
Hmm.
and we do it on our own stock, whatever we choose. That Fernando Tatis is the same size too. So those are two commissions that somebody asked for me to do,
Cool.
and they're a little bit bigger than a baseball card, which is fun.
You got a baseball.
And
Wow.
I try to provide, yeah. So I often have a couple different things going at once, and I just kind of, whatever the mood strikes, I'll kind of jump to. Sometimes you just need a break
Hmm.
from working on one thing.
The reason why I ask that is because some people are doing like you're doing, relatively the size of a card, but other people are kind of scaling it, and then when they photograph it, then it's scaled down to the size of a baseball card. So you're doing a lot of work
Yeah,
that's
and
pretty
the
tiny.
11 by 14s are, so that Mickey Mantle was 11 by
Oh,
14.
yeah.
Same with Hank Aaron.
I saw this one. This one is beautiful too. These are beautiful prints and posters they would make too. I could see this
Yeah,
hanging on the wall
and I
here.
wanted to provide some sort of print. A lot of artists will do very, very limited edition prints, and it's when you get into doing artwork and merchandising them, or putting them on shirts or mugs or that kind of stuff, is when you can kind of start getting into trouble with
Mm-hmm.
stuff. But
Here's a
I did a satchel page that was only 25 prints, so I keep them very, very limited. And I try to provide some progress shots. I want to try to get into doing some short videos.
That would be fun. Yeah. I can't even imagine doing it on a baseball, man. There's somebody else I saw out there doing gloves, painted gloves that are
Yeah,
just
yeah.
spectacular.
Sean,
Boy,
what's it, Sean
they're
Kennedy?
spectacular, though. I can't even imagine doing this on a baseball. No. That is amazing.
Yeah, there's, like I said, there are some other artists that do painted baseballs. I incorporate kind of an airbrush background.
Hmm.
I do a lot of mixed media, so all my cards are marker and color. They started out marker, and then I added colored pencil, and then I
Okay.
added acrylic paint, and then I added airbrush.
Cool.
I actually airbrushed on one of my Topps cards just last week. So now I have 4 different mediums on a card.
Nice. They're all beautiful work, man. These are really a lot of fun.
So all these that you're looking at now, those were all my Topps gallery. So those were all that 4 1/4 by 6, and then Topps scans those and then uses them as their card for the set.
And this is the one you're talking about for
The satchel,
the museum.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yep.
The satchel, nice. Good.
So I did originals of those, and both of those sold last year. And then I do a very limited amount of prints. So the satchel, I only did 25 prints. The Hank Aaron, I did 44, just to keep him low.
Good stuff, man. Wow. That is cool. The 42 ball. Wow. That is good stuff, man. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. So now let's move on over to Slayton Evans. And it's funny, since I just got yours, a lot of questions I wanted to ask you. You got to tell us what the kill it with the skillet is. For sure. I think that's awesome. But you know what? It's so funny. You want to know what my first reaction was? First of all, your card is amazing. It just, to me, looks like it should be on a postage stamp. I mean, it's just beautiful. But as I was scrolling down here and I saw the variety of different people that you've done, and then I saw the George Takei, and that was how my reaction was, oh my, just like he does. I mean, that was kind of my reaction, But let's start with your Josh card and tell us a little bit about how you did it. What's the median and your inspiration?
Well, I'll even take a step further by telling you the origin of the name.
Okay.
Let's see. My sister was helping me put together a website, and it needs a lot of work right now and updating and whatnot, but she kind of came up, she's an outstanding dramatic writer, and so she came up with a heavily dramatic name, Kill It With a Skillet. And the first time I saw it, because I like to cook too, so I guess that's part of what's incorporated into the name. And I read that and I said, "Oh, that's crazy." But hey, crazy sometimes is a good thing.
It works, yeah.
And so this past year when I was starting up my Instagram page, you have to have some kind of alias or whatnot, and I'm sitting there trying to figure out what do I put, and I have no idea what to put, and I'm asking my friends for ideas and suggestions, and of course no one's helpful. And then it just occurs to me one day, Kill It With a Skillet. That's just about crazy enough, and I can remember it.
It'll make people look too. I mean, for sure.
Yeah. So Kill It With a Skillet. That's what we've got right there.
All right. And you like to cook, so it all ties. Yeah. What do you like? So, what do you like to cook?
Lots of stuff that would make a cardiologist cry.
Sounds like me. I do a lot of brisket.
I enjoy baking, barbecue. Used to watch my mom cook all the time when we were growing up, and so I think I just kind of had it rub off on me as I became an adult. So don't ask me where the good restaurants are to eat, because I really don't know.
I know, that's how I am. I would much rather cook at home than go out. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I didn't miss it at all. With the pandemic going on, I didn't miss going to restaurants. We go once in a while. Me and my I have 3 boys and my wife. We go out, but I didn't really miss it. I like staying home and cooking.
I know.
So tell us about your card.
Well, the one lesson I did not learn from any of my art teachers was that you're supposed to plan everything out well in advance. And as a result, I tend to kind of make things up on the fly sometimes. And since this was supposed to be based on kind of like reminiscent of a baseball card, I wanted to find baseball cards from back in the 30s or the 40s or the 50s to model this after. And and I guess we kind of covered this earlier on in this conversation, that a lot of them look the same.
Mm-hmm.
They're essentially just a drawn or painted portrait of player X with their name and the position they play and the name of the team written very plainly somewhere on the card. And that's what baseball cards were in that era. So sifting through a variety of them, I came across, I think it's the 1959 baseball cards. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go by that. And essentially it's a big circular portrait of whoever the player is. Their name is in bold letters across the top, and across the bottom has their position and the team they play for. So I started in on that idea and came across a copy of his signature online. I said, okay, well, we're not going to put his name bold across this. We're putting his signature because that's much more cool. And as I was working on this, I kept trying to think about what celebrity might be like in the 30s or in the 40s. And as I think about that era, as a movie nerd, I started thinking about one of my favorite movies, which is The Untouchables. And during these scenes where the press is hounding Al Capone, trying to get quotes about whatever what, and you always have these photographers with these massive flash bulb cameras and whatnot, and bam, flash bulbs going off left and right. And then I started thinking of that to thinking of scenes from The Natural and other baseball movies where you have these outdoor scenes with banks of huge lights and all this. And I was like, I got it. Let's put flash bulbs all around the portrait right there and see if that works. So kind of did that, and it looked kind of hot.
Yeah, that was the first thing I thought of was when you see scenes of a baseball stadium or when the exploding lights in The Natural that you're talking about. I mean, that was kind of the first thing I saw when I saw those lights around there were round stadium lights. I thought it was very cool.
Oh, cool, thank you. Yeah.
What's it say on his shoulders? Is that just your signature? Oh, you got the JG20. Okay.
Yeah, I put that on the left shoulder, and on the right shoulder is my signature.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's you.
So yeah.
So here's some of the. So it's very cool, man. Like I said, I could see that on a stamp. I mean, it was just beautiful. I love the signature at the top too. I think that was a great touch instead of, like you said, the block lettering or whatever on top of it. So you got quite a variety here too. You've done a lot of celebrities.
Yeah, I'm a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
Bob
Gibson, very nice.
That was part of the Bob Gibson piece right there. I mentioned that I came across a card art enthusiast when I started Instagram who was running, he calls it Project 86. Series of card art by whoever wants in on it, using the Topps 1986 design.
Cool. And
this was the third piece that I did for that page.
Nice.
And I was kind of going in descending order in terms of how old these guys were. The first one I did was of Jacob deGrom, who is the only shining light for the Mets. And the second one I did was Don Mattingly, going back a little bit, and then Bob Gibson.
Cool.
So, and part of it is trying to kind of go back in time and capture some of these guys who were really, really big back then, but the kids don't know who they are today.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah.
Just because it's good to remember how it's important to remember how good those guys were too.
Boy, oh boy, I hear you. I got two teenage. Well, one he's in his 20s, just turning into his 20s now. But yeah, you talk about it, and they have no idea. If I'm not telling them about them, none of their friends have any idea who anybody is beyond, the year they were born. So yeah, it's a lot of stories that you could tell them for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's that. This is the one I like, and the first thing I thought was, "Oh my!"
Yeah.
Did he autograph this?
Yes, he did.
Awesome. I told Tad, I said we need to get him on here as a guest judge. How fun would that be?
And he's a really nice guy too, so it wouldn't surprise me if he did it.
Boy, oh boy! I mean, somebody needs to get in touch with him and see if he'll come on in a couple of weeks and be a guest judge. You got a lot of cool guest judges that are on here, as part of this. But you have got, here's your DeGrom. You have got, I mean, everybody and anybody you've been doing things. I mean, you're a Star Trek fan, I guess, huh? Star Wars.
Yeah. Well, when I started a few years ago getting back into making art, what was happening is you have these pop culture conventions that are going around,
mm-hmm.
and these celebrities show up at the conventions, and you can meet them, say hello, you can get autographs from them, take pictures with them and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess it was 2018. They had one of these conventions near here, and William Shatner showed up. Well, I mean, I've got to get Captain Kirk's signature on something.
Absolutely.
And so it was like, well, I'm not going to get one of these stock 8x10 photographs that they give you. I'm going to draw a portrait of Captain Kirk, and I'll get him to sign that. And so I did, took it over there, and he autographed it, and he wanted to hang out and talk a little bit.
He did. Cool.
William Shatner wants to talk to me.
To hang out and talk with you. That's awesome.
Like, I go home that night, and an episode of Star Trek is on the air, and I started crying, like, it's Captain Kirk.
That's awesome.
And so I was able to go around to other parts of the country and go to these events where other Star Trek actors were appearing, and I got autographs from them. So that's kind of where some non-sports related material came from. It go down all the way to the bottom of the page.
I knew you had to have, being in Chapel Hill, I knew you had to have some Carolina Tar Heel art somewhere.
That kind of gives away where I'm from.
Right? Yeah.
Lots of Carolina
You've got
stuff,
them all. They all autographed them? No kidding. You got autographs from all of them on here.
I got a bunch of celebrity autographs, which is pretty cool.
Very fun. Yeah. Very cool. Good stuff, man.
So some of that, had some of and card art, which has been really cool. So that's kind of been going back in time to my younger days, getting into the card art. And on a non-sports related thing, I tried to get into doing a series of portraits based on the history of black comedy in America.
That's why you've got Jamie Foxx on here, I see, yeah.
So one of the pieces was the cast of In Living Color. And so I did one piece that had 9 portraits of the cast members.
Cool.
That took a really, really long time.
I bet.
My friend said, "You're never going to get this done. You'll die before you get it done." I was like, "Oh, no, I'm going to finish it before I die." And it's finally done. So I did that. And I've done one of Arsenio Hall.
I saw that down here, yeah.
And I've one on Dick Gregory that's in process right now.
Okay. Good stuff, man. This is really a lot of fun. There's Arsenio. Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Well, thank you, sir. That was good stuff. I'm gonna put up real quick, and then we'll get you guys back on here. But I wanted to just put up the NLB Mart website, because this is where everybody can go and vote every week. Is it every Friday, or is it the weekend after everybody's cards are out? I'm not exactly.
I think it's all weekend.
All weekend. So
mid-afternoon Friday through late Sunday morning.
Cool.
So it doesn't give you actual times, but the general window.
So here's what we've been talking about. I mean, this is the same theme of Josh Gibson, MVP, and you've got now at this point we're into the 50s, approaching 60 different takes on it all, and you've got so many cool versions. I mean, you've got comic books, you've got traditional, you've got this one in the suit from Eric. I thought was great. He was on a couple of weeks ago to talk about that one. I mean, they're all fantastic. I mean, every single one of them. And, you know, the caricatures, style, and everybody's doing a different take, using a different medium, a different, style. I mean, it is just fantastic. There was Phil Rivera's where he threw in all these little Easter eggs with the X-Files and all sorts of other things. Some done in marker, some done in pencil, some done in, you name it. I mean, it is just been a lot of fun.
Yeah, one thing I forgot to mention and it kind of reminded me of what you just said. I really enjoyed hearing Ryan's take on how his thought process. Same with Anika, and I mean it's neat to hear the thought process of
Right?
how people come up with stuff. And then I'm thinking, I just look for good photos and composition of how they lay together, and then I just let my my drawing and coloring take over, where everybody else has like well thought out ideas, and I just think that's really cool to hear that kind of stuff. I wish that story, and I'm kind of glad to be on this. I wish those stories would come out a little bit more.
Absolutely.
Because I had no idea like some of what Ryan's card was about, and that's really cool. I think his card would look awesome as a poster.
Right.
Poster prints.
I'm gonna put you guys back on here. All right. Yeah, no, I'm with you, man. I mean, it is just neat, and then to have you guys come on here, and people can watch and they can hear, how you guys got into it, and then the thought process behind what you're doing here. This has been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you guys coming on here and doing this. I think it's great. So, what's next for all you guys? When this is over in a couple of weeks, I mean, what are you guys going to move on to next? I mean, Josh, you're probably pretty busy with what you're in the middle of. Ryan, what are you going to be working on next after this?
I'm trying to do something with the Josh Gibson baseball card trophy, in the style with some of the other things that I've done on my own. I'm waiting for a formal approval that may or may not come. So hopefully it does. I'd love to share it. Share it a little more broadly. I think it's pretty interesting and unique, and we'll see if it can tie together. But if not, back in April, I did an April Fool's Day joke about Card Art magazine. It had a nice cover and was trying to tell people, hey, I just went to the printer. This is coming out. And it got a really favorable response. And so I think I might try to work on that in July.
Cool.
Reaching out to some people, and the idea is that it would be printed only. Like, you're not going to find it on the internet. I've had some feedback from a couple people. One person I've done an interview over email, and another person I'm getting lined up. So stay tuned. I want to do net proceeds, all of them, for March of Dimes.
Cool.
It's still a theory. It's not quite a reality, but if I kind of get over the milestone that I could say it's happening, please keep your eyes and ears open. And I'm maybe reaching out, so don't ice me. Just say thanks but no thanks.
How about you, Anika?
Oh gosh. Well, let's see. Like always, I've got like if a stove had 8 burners, I've got pots on all of them. But let's see. After this, well, I'm hoping to. I would like to auction my card to provide proceeds to the Josh Gibson Foundation. Additionally, Toni Stone, her 100th birthday, if she were still alive, is coming up this next month. So I'm thinking if I have time, I would like to do something similar to honor Toni Stone. And I am in the process of trying to get a hold of her family to work out something, or at least an organization of their choice, if they don't have anything set up. And I'm doing some writing work. I'm working on some writing projects right now. I'm also finally, I guess authors are supposed to already have their next book in the works before their first one even comes out.
Right.
But like I said, that did not feel like something I was ready to do. I'm already like I think my rear end is finally getting its shape back after being shaped like a chair. So, not that that's a priority, but it just speaks to the overall health of me right now. So, but I'm working on a couple more pitches. I finally decided to go ahead and sign with an agency so they can help me with all the hard parts of getting book stuff out there. So I'm looking forward to that.
Cool.
And doing a little bit of traveling. And like I said, my boyfriend is doing some touring stuff, and I'm really looking forward to a couple of trips around that, because that means I can get out and sketch in the wild again,
Right.
which is really exciting. I don't know how many people carry a sketchbook with them or not, but for me, like sketching out in the world is like, it's like exercise. It's, I get more than just drawing exercise. It's also story experience, just like sitting at the ball game and having vignettes happen around you, being in an airport or in Central Park or a coffee shop or anywhere. I just love sketching the life around me. It gives me so much inspiration for my actual work. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Cool.
And yeah,
Cool.
that's about it.
All right. So Josh, I imagine Tops keeps you pretty busy, but you doing anything else? You do anything else on your own, or any commission work you're working on, or what do you got going on?
Yep. Actually, all my Tops work is done for the year. I only do 2 sets, museum collection and gallery. We'll see next year what comes around. So I work on that from November, December up through about April, May. So all my work is done with Tops. Now I just have some commission work for the actual Tops cards. If people want, I have a couple left. And then I have, obviously, other people have, they see my work and then they want to know what else I provide or can do. So I like to have in that option. So the baseballs, I have a couple commissions on that. I have a couple of city maps to do. I have a couple personal things that I want to get done. I want to start painting on jerseys. So I have an autographed Bo Jackson. I collected Bo Jackson as a kid. So Ryan, I just liked one of your Bo cards earlier. So I have an autographed jersey of Bo, and I thought, I don't want to mess up somebody else's jersey. I'll start with my own first and try that out. So that's kind of a personal goal. And then, that's kind of what I have going on.
Cool. How about you, Slayton? What do you got coming up?
Well, I've got 3 art-related projects I'm trying to crank out right now. I've got one, the more recent of the Black comedy series I've started. This one's going to be on Dick Gregory, because Showtime Networks is actually airing a documentary about him starting next week. So I feel there's some pressure for me to get this done. Cool. Even though I have nothing to do with the documentary, so there's no reason for me to be feeling pressure at all. Cool. So I'm going to work on that. I have another card art piece for the Card Art Syndicate page on Instagram. This one is going to be of Reggie Jackson, which is also kind of interesting that during all the research for Josh Gibson, found out that Reggie Jackson's father played in the Negro Leagues and knew Josh Gibson.
Yes, he did.
So Reggie got all these stories about how awesome a player Gibson was. And I didn't know that. So that was a kind of a cool thing to somehow accidentally decide to do a Reggie Jackson piece right around the same time.
Cool.
And going to a galaxy far, far away, I might be able to get an autograph from Brent Spiner, who played Commander Data in Star Trek The Next Generation at the end of July. And so I have to work on a Mr. Data portrait.
Awesome. Good stuff, man. Man, I tell you what, I appreciate you guys taking the time. I mean, it was a lot. We 4 of you out here, so trying to get everybody to be able to share what they're doing. I could talk all night. I mean, honestly, I mean, I've had people on. Historians, authors, researchers, and after we get off the call, off of this, I'll spend time talking about them. I could talk to guys like Phil Dixon and Larry Lester, and you know, all till the sun comes up. It's just so much fun, and there's so many stories to tell. And I'm glad that you guys took the time to come on and tell yours. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and best of luck in the upcoming 2 more weeks. They'll be having the final, I guess the judging, right? They're going to decide how they're going to roll that out. That'd be kind of fun. We need to have a whole, parade of cards. Everybody's card needs to come through some sort of, time lapse or something. I'm not sure what Tad's going to, what they're all going to, and Jason, what they're going to all decide to do. But I think it's going to be, a lot of fun to see. And best of luck. And again, thank you so much for coming on, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Slayton, Anika, Josh, same. Thank you much. A lot of fun.
Yeah, it was good seeing you guys and hearing all about your process. Thank you.
Most definitely good to finally see all of you guys.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.